Hi, my name is Michelle. Welcome to my 24-hour readathon, a vlog video, mess, chaos. I'm already running late. That's why I'm saying that this is going to be chaotic, but I'm going to try to make it fun. And yeah, let's go over what's happening here. So, yours truly, aka me, is currently unemployed, and I figured that I could dedicate. Oh, I can speak already. Wow, this is going to be fun. I figured out I could dedicate my time to what I want to dedicate my time to, and that is doing a 24-hour readathon. I have never done this before, and I am not probably doing it in the best way possible. In my defense, I have tried doing this a different way earlier this week. Did not work out. I had the best intentions to wake up at 4 a.m. and then read for 24 hours and then go back to sleep. But if you think I stirred, so much as stirred at 4 a.m., no. I woke up at 9 a.m. Like, what day is it? What century is it? Where are we? So we are going to approach this in a different way. And we are starting midnight to midnight. Have I had any sleep? No. I woke up at 10 a.m. this morning. So we've been going for a little bit. It's currently 26 minutes past midnight. I have not started reading because I was distracted by a crossword. Is that really a crime? I don't think so. The goal of this 24-hour readathon, I am going to try my freaking hardest to not fall asleep. However, if I just really need to crash out, or if I just really need to take a nap, or if I just really need to go to sleep at 4 a.m. in the morning, I'm going to do it. Because I was thinking about it, and the goal of this, yes, it is to read midnight to midnight, but really what I want to see is how much I can prioritize my reading in these 24 hours and how much I can read without losing any enjoyment or losing my ability to comprehend what I'm reading. So if it turns out that I end up reading for 10 hours out of the 24, or if I just really need to sleep, I'm going to do it. We're going to do it. We're going to be nice to ourselves. The preparation that I did for this was, again, not sleeping. Fantastic. Buying a Monster. Also fantastic. Drinking my coffee at 25 past midnight. I'm about halfway through. Probably going to make more coffee as the night progresses. And that's pretty much it. I was also thinking about what I want to read. And obviously, when you do a 24-hour readathon, oftentimes I see people trying to read short books or easy books. I was like, no, I actually want to enjoy what I'm reading. I will switch to something else if I'm not having a good time anymore. But I started this yesterday, The Buffalo Hunter. Now, I've only read 36 pages of this here novel, and people say that's what they can agree on, that the book is dense, that it doesn't read quickly, that it's sometimes difficult to read. I don't care. We're going to read this. This is like a 5-star prediction for me, and if it takes me half the day, then it takes me half the day. I don't care. If it puts me to sleep, I might switch to something else just to keep myself awake, but I would really like to get through this, and what we do after, we'll see. Anyway, I will take you with me. I will probably update you either when I make progress in a book or if I'm falling asleep and I need to chat myself up and hype myself up for the rest of this. We will see. But I figured I might as well take you with me and we'll see what happens. Maybe I will check in tomorrow at 11 like I just slept for 10 hours. Don't know what happened. And that's okay because I guess that's what my body will have asked for. So that's what we are going to do. But I am still going to do my freaking best to not fall asleep. My girlfriend is joining me for now, but we'll see what happens. I have faith in her completely. She never falls asleep halfway through a page. That never happens to her, ever. So she's giving me the middle finger right now. At least we know she's awake enough. See, when I remember, remember when I said this was going to be a nice vlog? You know, I'm an agent of chaos. I am the harbinger of doom. That's okay. Anyway, let's actually read. Hi, it is 2 a.m. and I am here to do an update. I'm a lot quieter because it's the middle of the night. There are other people in this house who are currently sleeping. I'm here after about 2-ish hours. Well, really an hour and a half because I updated you pretty late. I read about 60 pages. I'm on page 92 of the book right now, so I am about here. And I figured I could tell you what it's about and tell you the plan going forward. This is not my first Stephen Graham Jones, and I do agree that this is denser and it is a little bit more difficult to read. I usually read about a page a minute, and I can tell that this is going a little bit slower than that, but I think it makes sense. This is very historical and it is very much written in a corresponding language, so of course it's going to read a little bit slower, but I'm having a really good time. This is technically like a story within a story within a story, if that makes any sense to you. We open in 2012 with this young girl named Betsy, but she calls herself Etsy. A weird choice, I know, and I agree. Who really wants a teaching job at this university, but she cannot get tenure and she doesn't know what to do. And then one day, she is contacted. She figures out that somebody, just a random construction worker, found this journal in the wall of a house that they were repairing or bringing down. I forget the details. And the journal belonged to her great 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 grandfather, or as she calls him, her greatest grandfather. So she decides to not necessarily like get her hands on it specifically because it's obviously very old. We are in 1912. That's where the journal is from. So she cannot exactly get her actual physical hands on the actual physical journal because she would ruin the pages. The words would pretty much just sink into the paper and be gone. But she gets her hands on photographs of it, on transcripts. She becomes involved in the process because she decides that she wants to do research on that to help her get tenure, because essentially they're complaining that she hasn't published anything. So she's like, yes, this has nothing to do with my department, but it's something I'm hyper focusing on, and that's what it's going to be. This is going to bring me success. And then after a few pages, really, you kind of get thrust into the journal papers. Etsy's greatest grandfather was a pastor in Montana in the early 20th century, and he started recording, or at least this journal starts in March 1912. And shortly after the beginnings of this journal, as he's, what is it, delivering mass? I am so not religious. I'm so sorry, guys. Well, I'm not, but I really do not know the lingo, especially in English. But a native man walks into his church. And then after the second Sunday, where this white pastor is like, what is this native man doing in my church? Huh? Not that I'm judging you or anything, but very that. This native man, he's Blackfeet, approaches him, the pastor, and tells him, hey, I need to confess something. And I'm going to tell you my story as it happened. And I will keep coming to your church and confessing until my story is told, because there's a lot of bodies to recount here. And the pastor is like, oh, well, interesting. While at the same time, this little town that the pastor is in is kind of suffering from these mysterious attacks where somebody is leaving pretty much skinned bodies. Everything on the body is skinned aside from the head. Around town, also full of like strychnine, and which is poisoning the dogs who then go lick the corpses. It's a whole situation. He's very weirded out by it, but honestly he is more concerned about a local woman who bakes him cakes. He's like, this is the best cake I had. I'm just gonna have a slice after lunch and a slice after dinner and maybe a slice in between so something can carry me over from lunch to dinner. Honestly, this man's worries, really, if that didn't reflect the life of white men at that time. While we are being told his story through the journal, we are also being told the confessions of the Blackfeet man that walked into the church. We had one chapter like that so far, and it was pretty long. It was like maybe 30 pages or something like that. It was pretty long. And that story is more like in the late or in the second half of the 19th century. And it opened with a group of Picani men who went on a raid, but really they found a wagon with a bunch of white men who were killed by fake native people, which really just reflects the buffoonery and the absolute bullshit that native people had to go through and still have to go through. Just like, well, I don't even know. That is in itself very interesting, and the fact that this is the framing device and that this is like how the narrative is being built is really interesting and really intriguing. And combined with the language, like, Mr. Graham Jones, I did not know. I did not know that you played like that, but oh my God, it's exquisite, the writing in this. I am in love. But not only is that interesting, the stories are interesting, the way that they intertwine, but it also says so much between the lines about what life was like back then for white people in juxtaposition to the lives of Native people at that time, while also being able to tell me so much of the beliefs of Native people at that time and what they believed, even when it comes to something like beavers. It's so interesting, and what they were forced to do, and how they would get their hands on literally just means to protect themselves. It's just really interestingly written in all perspectives. I'm loving it. That's my update so far. I will tell you more obviously as I read more. As far as this little readathon goes, right now we are going to move to bed, not to sleep, to read. We will probably eventually turn off the light, and I don't think I'm going to be giving you any more updates until the morning because, again, there are other people sleeping in this house who are very light sleepers. So I cannot possibly do this every 2 hours at like 6 a.m. In bed, I'm not going to be reading this because I think that would put me to sleep because eventually the light will have to go off probably, just for the sake of my sanity. Honestly, what I'm going to be reading. If you are new here, I always have a before sleep book going. I just finished what I was reading, which was The Works of Vermin by Hiran Ennis. We're not going to talk about it. That's done in the past. That's October, baby. It's November now. It's my birthday month. Oh my God. Maybe that's why I felt inspired to do this. I'm going to pick up the Sulin Tam book, Never Ever After. It's a Cinderella retelling, but I read some reviews that told me that it was kind of dark, that it wasn't just like, it is still YA. That's why I picked it for my before sleep book, because reading The Works of Vermin, that's a adult book that is so absurd that I honestly thought I was hallucinating half the time. Like, was I awake? Was I asleep? I don't know. But I'm going to read this now. It's YA fantasy slash romantasy. I don't even know. Fairy Loot did a special edition of that a few months ago, so maybe it's romantasy. I honestly don't know which of their 7 billion boxes it was, but I know that they did it. And I will tell you about that when I can talk to you. So somewhere in the morning. I don't know the exact hour, but it will happen. That's what I'm going to be doing. Cinderella retelling, YA. I'm kind of into it. I haven't read anything like that since like the ages of Cinder, which is what, like over 10 years ago now. So pretty exciting. I will tell you all about it tomorrow, which will still feel like today for me. Does anybody else work in this way where like you feel like it's still like today as long as you don't go to sleep? This is why I struggle when we go on vacation, because like me staying up for 24 hours is really not that big of a reach. I do it do it at least once a year. Well, if we go on holiday anywhere, because the way it works when we, like, for example, we went to Greece a few months ago. We went to a little not island, but like inland coast. It was beautiful, amazing. But here, when you go on these vacations, like 75% of the time, you get on these charter flights that leave at like 4 or 5 a.m. And I don't go to sleep because we don't live that close to the airport. It's like an hour drive. And you obviously have to be there like 2-ish hours before your flight. So I don't go to sleep. I'm responsible for the driving. I'm too wired to go to sleep. And I cannot really sleep on planes. So literally the last time I was awake for like 34 hours or something like that was not even 2 months ago, to be honest with you. So this is not a bigger reach, but that's different. I will do my best though. What was I even saying? I don't know. This is the sign that I need to shut up and focus. Also, tomorrow we're going to be knitting some socks with my focus friend. I have a bean called Chickpea, and I am pretty much done decorating the first room, and I need to save up socks to open the second room so that I can decorate the living room. It's a whole thing. I'm gonna stop yapping and I'm gonna see you in a few hours, hopefully with no Z's in between. Good morning. I snoozed. Cutie applause for getting sleep. It's fine. I stayed up until 4 a.m. I think, and then I just blinked out of existence. And then I woke up at 5 a.m. Well, 4:50. Blinked into existence to go to the bathroom, and then I blinked out of existence before I could even consider not blinking out of existence. So that happened. But I did read 72 pages before it hit 4 a.m. So that's something. I did start Never Ever After, like I said I would. Well, that's how that works. And I read 75 pages of that, something like that. Yes, it is a Cinderella retelling, but it kind of reminds me of less Americanized Cinderella stories that I've read. It's still a retelling, but let's say we have, okay, Germany and Czechia did a Cinderella is retelling in the 70s or the 80s. It's a classic that always reruns on Christmas, and this reminds me more of that. That is technically Cinderella, but it's called Three Nuts for Cinderella, and she has like this friend owl who like gets her like 3 little nuts. Well, not the owl, but like she gets 3 little nuts, and then she like always asks the owl for advice, and then she corrects the nut, and it's like a dress or it's a costume to help her with some sort of mischief, etc, etc. And then there's the ball and everything, but we don't have the fairy godmother, we don't have the pumpkin. It's a lot more interesting if you ask me. And this is more like that. We have our main character who doesn't have a stepmother who is an evil hoe, but a step aunt who is an evil hoe. They kind of go around these markets telling fortunes and robbing people, and she's forced into this situation. You can tell that she is in a situation, or Cinderella, you know, that she's in a situation where there's no good options here. She either leaves home and leaves behind everything that she has known, with no resources, nowhere to go, in a kingdom that is just between 2 kings because the old king died and the new king is just about to be coronated. But on the other hand, you have this aunt who doesn't clearly see your value and honestly just uses you for labor, and that's not cool, obviously. She's in between a rock and a hard place, to say the least. But what I also meant with it reminds me more of that retelling is that she doesn't have a pet owl, but there's a magic carp that shows up out of nowhere and starts talking to her. And at first I was like, okay, am I already asleep? But then I reread the page, but no, I wasn't asleep. It was a talking carp. So we had that, and this magic carp brings her like a thing. She has a ring that she got from her mom and that she has managed to hold on to, despite her aunt essentially snatching everything that she could possibly snatch out of this girl's hands. She still has the ring because it appears to be like a wooden ring of no value. So she's like, sure, keep it. I don't care about that. And this magic carp is like, okay, here's something for the magic ring so that it's full, and then it can like lead you to your mother. Your mother gave this to me, etc, etc. And she's like, okay, I am leaving. But lo and behold, the evil aunt is sneaking around the bushes behind, and she's like, you're not going anywhere, and I'm cooking this carp. That's pretty much the first 50 pages of this. And then we go to the ball, and I'm assuming that we will go from there. There are multiple people. This girl is really fun to follow because she has spunk. She is, I guess, technically like a pretty stereotypical YA fantasy protagonist, where she's not necessarily the chosen one, at least not to my knowledge so far, but she makes herself to be the hero of her own story, you know? So she's like, the aunt steals the ring, she tries to look her up, she's like, nope, not happening on my watch, gets out, goes to the ball, snatches the ring back, gets into shenanigans, almost gets arrested, talks to multiple people, even though she's like the epitome of like soft core, hard shell, because no matter what you tell her, she has a comeback ready for you to go. And yeah, that was fun. I don't think I'm going to be continuing it now. I think it's just going to be my before sleep book, so you're not going to hear about me wrapping it up or telling you how I liked it in the end. But in case that sounded interesting too, I guess it's an option for you out there. This is also an Asian retelling because Sulan Tan is Asian, so just in case you are interested in something like that. However, right now I'm going to make coffee. I slept for 6 hours, by the way. Well, 6 hours and some minutes. I'm apparently a lot of REM, though, according to my watch, so that's good. And deep sleep. They told me that I slept too short, and I'm like, I didn't want to sleep at all, but thank you, friend. Right now I'm going to make coffee, and I'm going to log down, because we still have, I can't do math, but we have more than half of this ahead of us. So I'm going to log down, and the goal is to finish at least 2 books.
I'm speaking it into existence. I am going to continue the Buffalo Hunter because I cannot stop thinking about that book. It's so good, and I just hope that it continues that way. And then we're gonna pick something together. The jury is still out, but I'll take you with me, and we are awake and doing it now, for real. Hello, dear friends. It is 5:31 as of right now. I have an update for you. I'm here. I'm starting to think that this maybe was not the best book to pick for a 24-hour readathon because I'm only on page 249 and I have done nothing else today for hours at this point. And I read like 160 pages. I think I read like 4.5, 5 hours probably. I have an update for you. I figured I should talk to you at some point today. And this is the time because we are taking a break. I'm gonna go make dinner. I'm gonna have that dinner and then I'm going to read more. I'm starting to lose hope that I will finish this, but at the same time I'm thinking, considering that it's 5 p.m., I still have like 7 hours to read this. So hopefully, for the love of everything, I have less than 200 pages left. I have like 180 pages left. I can do that, right? Somebody give me a chorus of yeah, I can totally do that. Anyway, I still have the same opinion on this. I do have some notes and thoughts that I want to share, but I think I'm going to wait until I'm done with the book because if I tell you everything right now, then what am I gonna tell you at the end? I'm really curious how this is going to end because I know that there's a part 2 very close to the end, like somewhere around this part, and I think we're going to shift perspectives, or like something is going to transpire that will bring about part 2, and I'm really curious how that is going to go. However, the commentary in this is fantastic. There is some bloody gore that is happening, and I will say one thing, I guess, before I move on with my day a little bit for a little while. I read the summary of this because I was wondering if something was included in, you know, the flappy flap of the dash jacket. And it is included there as like almost a footnote at the very end of the very last sentence. And I was debating talking to you about it because I think it's really, well, I don't want to use the word interesting, but it is interesting. That's the best word I can think of. But I, at the same time, kind of don't want to talk about it, so I'm not going to. But let me tell you, if you haven't read the summary and you don't mind not knowing what exactly it is that we're doing here, I would recommend going into it a little bit blind. Do know that it's very bloody at points. Not in a slasher kind of way, but very bloody at points. Like blood is very present, and body parts and, you know, things like that, that's very present. But I find it fascinating how it unravels. It's almost like Shrek. It's almost like an onion that just slowly peels away its layers until you find out what exactly is going on. And then as you read the story of that's why I also don't want to talk to you about it right now, because like that's what I will talk about. But I think it's really fascinating the way this is done. And it is, there are some things narratively that are just, it's making me want to punch a hole in the wall just because it's so well done. Anyway, I am still enjoying this very much. It is, I don't want to say a chore, but it is definitely dense. I probably should have picked something else, but at the same time, if I get to talk to you about a book that I might give 5 stars by the end of this, I'll take it. Also, it was super nice to sit outside and read for a bit. It was probably the last time it happened this season. It's supposed to get colder now, so I don't think we're gonna be sitting outside much. And I'm kind of glad I got to document that, because truth is we haven't been able to sit outside a lot at all, because the weather has just been not prime. Anyway, I'm gonna go make that dinner. I'm gonna go take a little break because I think otherwise I'm going to get myself into a slump, and I don't want that to happen. And then I'm gonna go back to reading. And the goal is still to finish this so that I can pick something else. the struggle of picking something else is going to be so real, because I will either finish the book I started before sleep, or I will have to pick something short so I can give you like a finished thought on something, because I do want to finish 2 books. It's just the one goal I have. Good evening. It's 11:47. I just finished it. Oh my god, and it fell on my toe. My brain is fried. Mistakes were made by Meryl Wilsner. But it was really good. But my god, I am fried. Do you see my face? This is not a human person anymore. I'm a shell currently. What is... I cannot talk to you right now. I am dead. Exhausted. My brain... I feel like I just read a marathon. Man, my girlfriend's over here on her 3rd book of the day, having read like 820 pages, and I'm here... Okay. And I'm here like, I finished my 440 page book. Wow. Incredible. I will talk to you tomorrow, but I figured you should know that it happened and that this emotionally, mentally devastated me. Hi, welcome to my book stacks. I don't think we've been here today. I don't think we've been here in a very long time. But hi, welcome to my book stacks. I have rejuvenated myself. It took me like a week. I'm not going to even pretend that it's like the Monday after my Sunday delve into this and the 24-hour readathon. It's been a while, but I really needed that time to put some distance between me and the whole experience. It was a great experience, but why did I pick this book to read? I read nothing else. For all my trying, I finished this at like 11:45 and I was happy for it. When I saw, I don't think I have footage of that, but there's like a little thing after, there's like an email something, and I saw this wall of text on this page in the tiny font, and I nearly cried. Like 11:20, I was like, I cannot do this, why is this happening to me? However, my distress and emotional well-being aside, this is a 5-star book. And I think it's so smart. I told you what it was about and what it expands on and what the themes are, so I don't feel like I need to repeat myself necessarily. But the way everything is put together and reading the acknowledgements as well really just blew my mind, because Stephen Graham Jones is so aware of what he's doing and he is so smart. Above everything, the fact that he wrote this in like 3 months, I'm like, my mind is... how? I do not understand. And I mean that in the best possible way. In the acknowledgements, he talks about, well, it's American fiction, the movie, but it's a book by Percival Everett, you know, the guy who wrote James that won the Pulitzer this year. And he talks about that and the book within that book called My Pathology, and how he feels like, is he part of that narrative now? And I think it's such a clever remark to make, and it's even more food for thought. And there's already so much of that here. I love this with every fiber of my being. It is, like I said, so smart. To me, it was riveting, even though it's very slow to read and the text is very dense, because Stephen Graham Jones really does his best to make it feel like you are in that time period and you are like in the 19th century, whatever area that we're in. Everything feels, the language feels correct. I hate when books are set in the past and they are marketed as historical fiction and you crack them open and it's like you hear 2 Gen Zs talking. This doesn't do that. This goes so hard for the language of the time. And I don't know, it was excellent. It was so good. Ultimately, I am so glad that I picked this. I know it took me 24 hours to read. I was counting up and it took me literally like 14 hours to read this book, where normally I read a minute, like a page a minute, and this was more like a page every 3 minutes or something. It was so worth the effort, and I'm at the same time really glad that I inhaled this in one day. It was an experience like no other. A fever dream, but like not even the good kind. It was a great experience though. I would totally attempt this again, probably with easier books this time. But am I mad that I put my time and effort into one dense book that came out being like a 5-star, one of my favorite books of the year? No, I don't regret that. That's incredible and amazing. I loved my time. Anyway, that's the experiment done. I think total this is like 440 pages if I remember correctly. 443 with the acknowledgements, which I did also read before midnight. So 443 and then 72 pages of the other book, which in total makes this number. I cannot do math right now. I'm so sorry. Normally, during a readathon like this, I would read a lot more pages in those 24 hours, but I'm not mad. Again, I'm not mad because this was worth every minute of my time, you know what I mean? I can see myself rereading this down the line. I think it's my new favorite Stephen Graham Jones, and then My Heart is a Chainsaw would be the second one, and then the third one would be The Only Good Indians. That's my like top 3 of Stephen Graham Jones, shortly followed by Mapping the Interior and Night of the Mannequins as like the 2 novellas being like the 4th honorary spot. I don't know, do you even care about this? Probably not, but I loved this. I loved the experience. Thank you for joining me on it. I'm probably going to do this one more time, probably when the light is a little better. That's also one of the reasons why it took me so long to film this, because it has been so gloomy that even daylight feels like 6 p.m. at this point. So I was like, well, there's no point waiting if it's never gonna happen, so here we are. It was a pleasure to be here with you. I hope I did a good job. I hope you were entertained. I hope I told you something about the book that made you want to pick it up if you're into this type of genre, or if you're into historical fiction, horror, whatever. If you want to discuss down below, please feel free. But anyway, support BIPOC creators, especially with the Goodreads Choice Awards this time around. Please support authors of color and also queer stories. That's my message. Have a good weekend, and I will see you sometime soon, hopefully.